President Trump's predicting a red wave after last night's election results. This comes as the Democrats' dream of winning a race in Ohio's 12th appears to be just that, a dream. It's still too close to call, but the president's claiming victory with Republican candidate Troy Balderson leading. Trump-backed candidates in other states also having big nights. The president confidently tweeting about his endorsement hot streak. As long as I campaign and or support Senate and House candidates within reason, they will win. Speaking of winning, the opposite happened for socialist candidates looking to take over the Democrat Party. Their new leader adding insult to injury with a baffling new statement.
I think that politically, this upper middle class is probably more moderate. But that upper middle class doesn't exist anymore in America. Their heyday was in the 90s when kids had Furbies and parents, you had soccer moms with 2 vans and stuff
Furbies and 2 vans.
Yeah.
That's a dream.
That's not America anymore.
I counted about 7 likes in that sentence. I know that really bothers you, Dana.
She's like a cute photo on Facebook. She gets a lot of likes.
She gets a lot of likes. So what did you think about last night in general, and then also about not a very good statement by the socialists?
I think that it was an interesting introduction that you had there into that segment. The Republicans did okay, but I don't think they should be resting that there's going to be some big red wave, because it's just a tough environment. It always is in the first midterm for any president. And look at history, and there's only one example, and that's kind of an aberration because of the war. I do think that the interesting thing is how the left-wing progressives are not winning. So more traditional, establishment-type, moderate Democrats who have been around the block a few times, they're winning. So Bernie and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, they have an interesting duo. They get a lot of attention. They have an outsized influence in the media, but they're not translating that into wins on the ground. I don't know what that necessarily means going forward. I'd also point to something like in Missouri, where voters voted 2-1 against a state legislative law for right to work.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons is because the messaging by the Democrats and the unions was really good. They had one of these ads that showed, okay, workers get paid an average of $8 an hour compared to this is what CEOs get. And it was effective messaging. So some of the things that we talk about up here in New York, and we're big picture overseas, we're not really seeing what's happening on the ground in some of these places.
That's right. Also talking about branding, Ben Jealous, very upset. I believe he's running for governor in Maryland, and former NAACP director. He was asked about being branded a socialist by his Republican opponent, and this is how he responded.
Not to put too fine a point on it, but do you identify with the term socialist?
Are you kidding me? Is that a finer point?
Wow, Greg.
I think I would vote for him just for that response, because it was just so natural. I will say this to your point. Ocasio's endorsements went ignored, which leads me to conclude the only people that were paying attention to her was us. And we were building her up into something because she was a socialist, and we liked that. We had a piñata for a while, and we were the only people that were focusing. I love the story. I don't think this is a blue wave. I don't think it's a red wedding. It's more like a purple nurple. Everybody got a little of something. Yeah. The Democrats almost won, but I love how the Washington Post can look at a victory that might happen for the Republicans and still call it a Democratic win because their morale is high, and that's all that matters. My favorite story is the Green Party spoiler candidate who got 1,100 votes, may have cost the Democrats the election, but the Democrats cannot get mad at him because he claims he's from outer space and they are pro-alien.
What a relief.
And we've invited that Democrat on Water's World.
Of course. Do you know
Green Party Democrat.
He believes that every American should grow hemp.
And what's the bad news about that?
I was saying that's beautiful for the good of the country.
You grow hemp.
And he can't remember his own website, so there might be a correlation.
I thought Jesse's intro was, I always wear those the rose-colored glasses. I thought yours were definitely rose-tinted because there's trouble ahead for the Republican Party unless the president maintains his hands-on approach. He did a great job. I think John James in Michigan is the rock star of the election last night. He's a West Pointer, an Apache pilot, a combat veteran, a black businessman, successful business, grew his business, married 2 kids. I think he really has a tremendous future. I don't know if he could beat the incumbent Debbie Stabenow, but I think he's got a terrific, terrific future. On the other hand, I think the president's embrace of Chris Kobach in Kansas. I mean, why Chris Kobach? I mean, he's a nice guy. He's very articulate, Ivy League educated, but his policies on immigration are so Neanderthalish that I don't know how he can possibly win. I don't know why the president chose him, if probably because of loyalty, because Kobach came in and helped him craft his draconian immigration policy, which
Why do you got to pick on the Neanderthals?
Maybe not Neanderthal. Strict. I think it's strict. We have some sound from Danny Boy, as President Trump likes to call him. He I guess, almost eked out a victory in Ohio 12. This is what he had to say about Nancy Pelosi, Candace.
Will you vote for Nancy Pelosi to be your Speaker of the House?
No, I won't. And we really need new leadership, because what we've seen in Washington, and I think this was demonstrated last night, is that the same old politics aren't working.
So they're running candidates in certain places, Candace, that are trying to distance themselves from Nancy Pelosi.
And that is actually a smart move, and that's why I think he had such a successful campaign. Look, we, on the right, we had to be very careful there in Ohio. It's been a close call. We don't really know what's going to come of it. But I will say this. The smartest thing you can do is distance yourselves from the extremists. Distance yourselves from Nancy Pelosi. Distance yourselves from Elizabeth Warren. Distance yourself from Maxine Waters, who is calling for violence. That's the only way they are going to be able to salvage the Democrat Party. And look, the thing I was watching last night, obviously, was the Democratic Socialists. I was happy to see that that crashed and it burned, and that 4 of the candidates that Alexandria Cortez endorsed, nothing happened there, because that was a very compelling story there. Is that really where we're going to go? 100 million deaths in the last 100 years due to socialism, and that's what their platform was essentially built on. But it turns out, America, good news, most of America understands basic math, and no, everything cannot be free.
I like the platform. I have to say, I love $15 an hour minimum wage. I think why not? I mean, how do you live with $8 an hour? Some of these jobs.
Can I give you the math? Can I actually give you the math?
Well,
Okay.
let me finish. Let me finish with what else I like that you hate. I think that we should guarantee health care. There should be Medicaid for everybody.
Okay.
I think the student debt. I mean, my goodness, I was a movie star for 3 years. I mean, seriously, I was the biggest local newsman in New York. 3 years it took me to pay off my
Well, I had $100,000.
Why is that our problem?
I had $100,000 in student loan debt, and guess how I got out of it? I worked my way out of it like everybody else should. You read the papers, you understand, which I didn't at the time, what you're signing, and you move on. But listen to this. $15 an hour means that businesses are just going to hire less people. More people will be out of work. That is the mathematics of it.
I think if you got to hike the price of a McDonald's, you got to hike the price.
You can't just say the businesses can't make the money come out of thin air.
All right, just to the 2 points that Geraldo raised. The minimum wage is for people on the. You're not supposed to stay at the minimum wage. It's the entry level first rung of the ladder. So the idea of raising that that one rung doesn't help anybody. That's just to get more people on the ladder. So you have to keep that. That's why you keep the price low. Student debt. The reason for that is because we are giving too many loans out. We're making it easy to go to college. And so now you have all these people. And college, let's face it, is overrated. It really is. It's expensive. It's expensive and it's overrated. And now it's becoming. You have all these kids that are basically enslaved to campuses, and it's nuts. But I also, just to the coming election, I think I'm a neurotic. I plan for the worst. I don't see any really encouraging news for Republicans. I don't. Out of what happened last night, I think you should, if you want to win.
How about the other way around?
If you want to win, prepare to lose. And that'll make you fight harder.
Part of it is the funding, right? So, and Congressman Steve Stivers, who's the chairman of the National Republican Congressional Committee, said, "Okay, guys, we can't do this for all of you." Okay, so they pulled out all the stops.
They put $4 million into that Ohio race.
At least, and that doesn't count independent expenditures, not to mention the travel and time of Pence and President Trump. If the president's going to come and campaign for you, like, that's a huge investment. And you have to figure out how much time does he actually have to be going and doing rallies everywhere for you. You've got to do your work. You got to figure out a way not to be outspent by these Democrats.
We got to give out Furbies.
How does the president, let's just say things don't go as well as he thinks they're going to go. There's no red wave, and the Democrats maybe have 1 or 2 vote margin in the House. If he's out there, as he says, campaigning 6 to 7 days a week, and he doesn't keep the House, how will he frame that issue? How will he explain what happened?
Well, before he does the explaining, the problem with the Republicans losing the House of Representatives is what? It is that they will move immediately to try and impeach the President of the United States. I really believe that in my heart. Even though I am in many ways a very progressive person,
Pelosi says
I have
it's not
invested in this
necessarily something
president.
you're going to do.
I want him to survive, and I hate the idea that they're going to short-circuit his term or attempt to. And at the very least, it's going to be a gigantic distraction from real problems like North Korea, like Syria.
It's also going to create massive unrest in America.
100%.
We have 66 million people knowing that you are now stealing election because you didn't like the results of 2016.
Can I tell you there's another thing, though? Like, let's just say that they don't move for impeachment, as Pelosi has said that they won't. There's another road for President Trump, and it's something that he'd be very good at, which is say, like, well, I did all I could. The media and the lame Republicans who couldn't get out there and raise enough money and campaign well, they lost. But you know what? I can get things done with these guys. I'm a deal maker. Right? You want to let's do Infrastructure Week. Let's finally actually get it done.
Finally.
There is another way, and Bill Clinton did that in 94 to 96.
He got killed in 96.
But his re-election was actually quite good. If what you really care about is President Trump getting re-elected in 2020, losing the House is not the worst thing that could happen to you.
All right.